Yeah. I'd like to yeah, that was it, right? I'd like to open the Town of Seneca Falls Planning Board meeting of May 27th, 2020. Present today are myself, Jeff Wilkes, I'm the chairman of the board. We have Dominic Catalano. Seneca Catalano. Feel free to correct me. Melissa Brown. John Patashaki. And Frank
Rosika.
Also, the alternate members here are Steve Gleason, Captain Lutz, our building code enforcement officer, Dean Zellmeyer, and our town attorney, Pat Morrow. The first thing I would like the board to consider is approval of the meeting minutes of the January 23rd meeting, which were not reviewed and approved at the last meeting. I consider a motion to approve or any comments at this time.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We also have in front of us the meeting minutes of the May 7th conference call meeting that I missed. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those? Any comments?
No. No.
Is there somebody that was there that would like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Melissa. Second?
Second.
All approved?
Aye.
Aye. The first item on tonight's agenda is a public hearing for the application for a minor subdivision submitted by Daniel Dowd for property located at 53 Auburn Road. I'd like to open the public hearing at this time. Is there anybody here from the applicant that would like to speak to that? Please state your name and address for the record and tell us what you're trying to do.
My name's Daniel Dowd. I live at 6 Patricia Drive. The property that I'm wanting to subdivide has been in the family. It was my mother's sister's house. Our grandparents lived right next door. And we always used to play out in the woods when we were kids. My aunt passed away. My two cousins had no interest in the home. I had expressed my interest in it. So I made them a fair offer. I bought the house, but I don't want to sell all the woods out back with the house. I want to sell the house, obviously, to get my money back out of the house, and I don't need another house. So I just want to subdivide the property with like an acre of land with the house, which includes, there's some buildings out back that the subdivision would include those outbuildings. Square it off nice and square, and then take the wooded area and connect that to the party house, which is, that woods goes all the way over and joins to the party house property. And that way I, hang on to the family, the woods that we used to play in and stuff, and just something I want to do.
Okay.
And it gives me options for sale of the party house down the road. Now, between the party house acreage and that acreage, maybe it's enough for somebody to put in a small grapevines and do a winery or a brewery or something, you know, that seems to be the way that this area is going. And to have acreage seems to make sense for this area, so that's my thinking on it.
So you don't have plans to develop that 3.7 acres or whatever you're saying?
At this point in time, none whatsoever.
Okay. But as I understand it, the application, it becomes part of the neighboring party house property. So we're not making a 3-acre property work.
Right, I just wondered.
Because if it doesn't become part of that property, it's also isolated. It has no access. An island.
Right, yeah, if I didn't connect it to the, either, because I own the house next to the party house also, if I didn't connect it to that one or the party house, it makes it landlocked.
Yep.
But connecting it to the party house property gives it access.
Are there any other board members that have questions?
Yeah, I see what you're doing now. The outline made it confusing for me anyway. But you got 53 over with the house. It says it's going to be 272 deep. And the way it was outlined, they did it up to 272 feet deep. I see the 183.6 feet frontage on Overton Road. I don't know if you figured it off on how
So
deep the property's going on.
I guess as I'm understanding, you're looking at this dotted line that's across the property?
Yeah, the west line would be
It's got to be back further than that.
273.
Yeah.
There's a pin. My aunt squared off the property with the neighbors, and then there's a pin right in this drainage ditch behind the garage. So we use that for a reference point, so we just went to that pin, and then I told Charlie Carroll, the surveyor, to just go 90 degrees off of that pin until you hit the other property line of the, straight off the other neighbor's property line. So it's a square lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it still leaves the properties like just over 1 acre.
But on this, it looks the same depth as the house right next to the party house.
But it won't-
61, and that, this list is 191 feet deep.
And am I allowed to get close to you?
Mask up.
'Cause I have a big map here.
That property will, this is the existing tax map, and that dotted line is, I agree, very confusing.
Okay.
His new property will be deeper
Deep.
than these other two
That's what I'm saying,
properties.
is it going to be deeper than what I see here?
It has to be because there's some outbuildings back here.
Okay.
That would otherwise be a no man's land.
All right.
Yeah. This is the house, so this is the neighbor property and this is my other house.
Mhm.
So this one actually will be deeper
Okay.
because these 3 outbuildings were beyond that straight line. I would have loved to just have that straight line there,
Okay.
but all 3 of those buildings are beyond that. So I just went to that pin in the ditch
Mm-hmm.
and just went straight over and straight down.
All right.
Which is a kink in the property line too. I think. Pretty close to it.
Nothing came in from the neighbors?
I'm not aware of any correspondence on it. I have 2 call-in users. Either of the call-in people like to speak to the Dowd property? They would just speak, right? Okay.
Is it on you?
Is either one of the call-in users that's not here in person want to speak to the Dowd property? If you do not want to speak, please mute your computer so that we don't get feedback? Hearing no comments. Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. The next item would be review of the environmental assessment form and determination of significance. We have part two. You make the
So the packet that I received does not have the part 2 and part 3. I would suggest maybe for the purposes of the meeting, following along with the part 2 and part 3 submitted with Mr. Kabari's application, and then writing it up after completed, or using a copy to write it up now.
Yep, we've got one.
Okay?
So to make a decision on your application, we have to first determine that it has no significant negative environmental impacts. And the questions that we need to answer to do that are 1 through 11. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? The options are no or small impact, or moderate to large impact. No impact. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? No or small impact. No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No to small.
No and small. Will the proposed impact have, will the proposed action have an impact on environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No, we don't have those in this town. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy if it fails and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public, private water supplies, public or private wastewater treatment facilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. Because we did not identify any potentially moderate or large impacts, negative environmental impacts, that this board determined, based on the information and analysis above and any supporting documentation, that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. Have a motion?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Any other questions before we consider a motion to approve the subdivision? Is there a motion to approve the subdivision?
So moved.
Second.
And I think it's clear enough that that approval is contingent upon that subdivided property being moved to the neighboring property. It's explicit in the application, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's the only condition that we typically put on this kind of thing. So we have a motion, second. All in favor? Aye. Carried. The subdivision is approved by this board.
Thank you.
So you really need to stamp and sign one of those maps, so that map can be for the county clerk's office. Okay. Okay, so you have the Mylar, the plastic one?
He has it right here.
I
Oh,
have,
you got the plastic one there?
this one's stamped.
Oh, no, he does.
Yeah, that's Charlie. Well, I'm saying you need a stamp from the planning board chair, who will
I
sign it,
have to stand.
and then the subdivision gets recorded as well.
Then he has to have the Mylar.
What's that?
He has to have the Mylars.
Yes.
Signed by
Yes,
Jeff.
so
Okay.
Charlie will know. Oh, if you talk to Charlie, he'll know exactly what you're talking
Okay.
My is fancy
about.
paper.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so it might be better off if you get the full set, bring it back down, leave them with Mr. Greer.
Yeah, I'll go
Want to do that?
get the information to Charlie Schaefer.
Yeah.
I'll get the information to Charlie Schaefer and then.
Don't know what- Yeah. Right?
Yes.
The highlight of tonight's activity is probably the public hearing for Huntington Apartments, which is scheduled to begin at 6:45. If the board is okay with it, I would suggest we switch to the Kingsley Kabari application. Do that first. So we'll, at this point, consider the matter of a recommendation to change the use variance that Mr. Kingsley Kabari has for the property at 81 Baird Street. Is there, well, I guess the first thing we need to do is open the public hearing.
Well, no, it's a special permit.
Oh, that's right, we don't have a public hearing. We're just making a recommendation. Is there anybody here from the applicant that wishes to address the board?
He's not here yet because
He's
he
not here
wasn't
yet?
scheduled until 7, I think.
Should we wait then till after and ask that again?
Yes, well, especially since he's not here.
Yeah.
All right, so then at this time, we'll go back to the schedule. And we're right on schedule, and open the public hearings for Huntington Apartments, final site plan approval.
I'm not sure where we're gonna be facing, but we'll start like that for now.
I'll just slide on this, so that way the camera's not, I'm not looking.
We'll figure it out.
Good evening. I'm in a mask, but my name is Link Streeter up with TME. I'll do the best, hopefully I think everybody can hear me. So at your last meeting in May 7th, we discussed the site plan for the Huntington building at 201 Fall Street. We went through and did the secret review, got preliminary site plan, and then subsequently went to the zoning board of appeals, and we provided some additional information to the ZBA, and wanted to review it with you tonight while we're requesting final site plan approval tonight for the project. The big change is based on the ZBA meeting, they requested that we try to increase the parking, so we have added additional parking from the original proposal. That we had 50 spaces, we now have 63 spaces. We removed the gazebo that was over in that area along Veterans Memorial and added parking this way, creating some additional parking to increase the parking count for the building. We provided written responses to the ZBA that we also copied the planning board on, basically trying to explain, addressing the reasons why we feel the parking is adequate for the project, and explaining the uses and the unit counts and things like that that the ZBA was really interested in. I don't know how much we want to talk about the planning board tonight. I have a whole team of people here with me tonight. Michael, the project architect, Adam Driscoll, and Sarah from Home Leasing, and we've got someone from Eagle Star as well. So we brought the whole team to help answer any questions you have. But once again, we've got preliminary. We're looking for final tonight. Another revision to this plan, just so everybody knows, is we have added a sidewalk along the eastern property that comes along to the back, and the main reason for that is the maintenance area that gives them access to the area where the totes will be for garbage. So that gives them it won't be access for the residents. The main access for all the residents is still to the west, where the building addition is proposed, but this is mainly for maintenance in the building facilities. So we provided a response to the ZBA, which included the revised site plan showing additional parking, as well as some additional information that the ZBA sort of asked for specifically during that meeting. We've also been in front of the HAC last night, where we've received the certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Architecture Commission based on the architecture. Again, Michael's here, he can help us with any questions you may have about the architecture. But besides that, the plan's consistent with what we talked about and what we reviewed at your last meeting when you granted preliminary site. So I guess we're just here to answer any questions that the board has for the final, and I think we'll keep it short and sweet and just try to answer any questions that we have.
Absolutely. So,
How many spaces was it increased?
50 to 63. This was I got the old plan too, so you can sort of,
yeah.
I thought maybe that would help. So this is showing the 63, so you can see this is where it was added. This is the way it was before, we had the gazebo there. So it's actually 51, sorry. So 51 to 63, so it increased by 12 spaces, sorry about that. But yeah, so this, we were able to remove the gazebo, which there was some comments about the gazebo being a smoking area anyway, so there was some comments about that at the last meeting as well. The gazebo was removed, and we were able to add some additional parking on that side of the site. Our intent is still to meet the recreational open space, where basically providing about 16,580 square feet on site, and we're required to have 22,000, but we're also 470 feet away from the Seneca Falls Recreation Park. So with the combination of two, I think we're meeting the intent of that code requirement. So we did keep everything else consistent in the back, all the gardens, the shed, the playground area, the overlook platform, the tote area, that all sort of stayed consistent. We did also add the handicap parking right up front here, so this is where we added the additional as well. We basically brought the handicap and put it across here, so this will give them direct access to the front too. This handicap was down along this side of the building before, so we added it up here. And it provides a shorter route for people to get to the front entrance of the building as well. So we still are providing up the flagpole in that area as well as the sign. It's consistent with what we were showing in that area before.
So is the parking gated? Is that what I'm seeing from here? There's a gate across the parking?
No, this is
No.
it's just accessible.
Okay,
circling
okay.
blocks.
Yeah, it just looks like it's,
No, there's no gates. This is showing the detectable warning field and then the crosswalks.
okay. Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
No, last night, after the meeting, we were talking about something they called a land save, I guess it was, because I was concerned about all the parking and then taking away all the trees and making it just all asphalt. And then somebody mentioned like a land save, I think they called it, like so that you wouldn't actually.
Land bank?
Yeah.
Land bank parking. So, yes, home leasing feels strongly that they don't need all this parking, but we're trying to appease, we're trying to compromise. We
Right.
understand it's a large variance for the ZBA to grant. But if we land bank it, we would just show it as parking on the plan and not construct it. But and we've been doing it a lot with all the stormwater stuff as well, because you don't need to build more pavement, it's, sort of counterproductive than what you need. But if we show it as land bank, we count it, in case they ever have to build it, they can go back and build it. So I think, based on what we're doing with the ZBA, we're looking for your approval for the 63. We may not build it all. We might just build the 50, we might not build this bank.
Okay.
But we'll show it on the plan as approved, in case they need it, it'll be approved and they can build it.
So then it would just be grass, like you couldn't put
It
trees
would
or.
just be grass, yeah. And, we are still saving all the woods back here. We're not going back into that slope area where it's wooded in the back as well. So,
Okay.
everything stops at like the top of that slope where it goes down to the canal as well.
Are you saying you're gonna design 63 total parking spaces, but you're not gonna implement them yet?
If the ZBA is okay with it, yeah, we would land bank them, which is, what we do with, we would show them on the plan. If we may not build them, but we'll show them there and we'll keep space for them. But if we don't need them, we wouldn't necessarily pave it and build it.
What's the reason for having that many apartments rather than maybe larger apartments and a smaller number that more coincides with the code of having 2 spots per apartment?
Well, I think, basically all the information we provided you is these square footages of these units are all requirements for DHCR funding. And it's all specifically why they.
So you're designing and
We're designing-
the funding rather than the needs of the.
No, we're
community.
designing for the needs of the community based on what we think they're gonna need for parking. So
No.
there's 28 Eagle Star units that are in there, and there's 27 workforce housing. So Eagle Stars typically sees about
What do you mean by
25%.
workforce housing?
Is that the 60,
That's the income requirement?
50, 60 area median income?
But the Eagle Stars are the previously homeless veterans. And they only see in their units, or they only see in their residence, in their current facilities, about 25% of the people having a car. So that's only, based on that, they only need about 10 spaces. So we're designing it based on what we're anticipating for people that actually need the parking. And the affordable, workforce is about 60%, sorry. I know they could probably do way better than I can. But 60%.
We covered it last time, but I think, and I think I asked that,
Mhm.
Eagle Star tenants How long are they there for? I mean, their website says they provide transitional housing for 2 to 3 months.
I'm gonna, the operations is, I'll let them, they got a better answers for you than I do.
Introduce yourself and please speak.
Yeah, hi, I'm Adam Driscoll with Home Leasing. Nice to see everybody's almost full faces tonight. But for Eagle Star's residents that would be living within the community, it would be like anybody else that's leasing or renting an apartment. It could be there for 20 years, or a year, or
What's the length of their lease?
a year.
They're there for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I have a follow-up question on that. Eagle Star itself, is there a condition on the financing and all that, that Eagle Star needs to have a presence, needs to be involved with this project? Is there a length of time that it's a requirement of the funding or something like that?
It is part of the financing model and the structure of to have this partnership, and I don't think there's a end. It's in perpetuity.
Okay. Is there a minimum?
I believe their contract with New York State through the ESHI program is renewed every 5 years.
The parking, the reduction, the number of parking you're presenting as a reason for that is, Eagle Star provides transportation for a certain number of units and all that stuff, and that's great, as long as Eagle Star is involved. My question is what can we expect, and what if it just doesn't work?
Sure. So our parking of what do we say, 60% would be in any other community that we have. It's not because of Eagle Star. What I think Link was saying was that with Eagle Star, we anticipated being less than 60% than what our typical parking requirement usage is what we were saying. With Eagle Star, population would be less.
I also want to ask you, talked about land banking potential spots. Do you have designated spots, or where on the map would those be? Have you
Designated for?
to not build?
Which
Oh.
ones would be banked?
Right.
Yeah.
If you banked them, which ones would be banked?
We probably would bank the ones along the eastern, is what we talked about, along the
Eastern edge, closest to the gas station.
closest gas station. Because the rest are closer to the entrance probably.
All right. Thank you.
If there was a preference on which ones to bank, we're
Yeah,
totally.
And would there be any objection to banking the ones that front on the street? Not the handicap ones, but
these ones here.
those,
No?
the left side?
I don't think so, I mean,
No? If that was a preference, I don't see why we.
It would help. Again, if we've got to, in the community, we've got to strike a balance between the desire to have green spaces and open spaces and the current zoning regulations which require two spots per unit, right? And they don't define whether that's a one-bedroom efficiency or a,
Yeah, it just says
a
per
four-bedroom or,
Right. It just says
apartment, it just per unit,
Per
right?
unit, per residential unit.
And I think the argument they're making is for this size of unit, you're not going to get 2 cars per unit. It'll be something less than 2 cars per unit, just because of the physical size of the unit. I mean, you're not gonna move a family of 8 with 3 vehicles into a 1-bedroom. Maybe a family of 8, but not with 3 vehicles. Right?
Yeah, how many are going to be in how many would you allow in a 1-bedroom apartment?
So 2,
Yep.
maximum of 2, correct?
Yep.
Yep, maximum of 2. Maximum of 2, sorry.
And studio, 1 or 2?
It might be 2. But I honestly don't know.
But right now,
So the only family housing that you're gonna be providing are the 3 2-bedrooms.
Well, I guess if there's a father and a son that want to live in one, or, I don't know, that would work. Yeah, 2 bedrooms would probably be the most for family
So
unit.
you'd be primarily looking at single occupancies or young couples.
But the project isn't really focusing on multifamily dwelling that we got going there.
Well, multifamily in the
I
code
know.
means more than one family living under one roof. This is one roof with 50 families under one roof. That's what that means.
And just for reference too, the pavement goes all the way across this other parcel now. So wherever we pave, we're removing pavement.
Removing pavement that exists now.
That exists now.
Even with more.
Even with more parking, you're still removing, because this is paved all the way.
All the way down the
across,
street.
all the way. And this is all, this is all paved. There's more pavement there now than what we're showing here, at the end. Even with the parking we're proposing. There's more asphalt. Because this is all, if you go out, the whole thing is paved now, so.
Well, getting back to your points about the clients occupying the units, still have a problem. How do we hold other developers to the code we've got on the books of 2 spaces per apartment? I mean, they could just as well say, well,
Yes, they could.
I'm gonna only rent to people who don't have driver's license, so I don't know.
Well,
And
John, I thought that the spots will be there, it's just that they won't actually be
still not
blacktop.
enough. Still
Not per
Well,
code.
it's,
Not, they won't meet the code, right? And so it's a legitimate, he's got a legitimate question. And it's a question that we're going to ask again in the next thing too. And it's one that's been before this board many times in the past, and I can tell you my answer is we need to update the code.
I'm in agreement with that.
I'm not telling you the whole code is all bad or it's all good, but there's some things in the code that need to be rethought.
I can tell you just from doing multifamily all over the area, we don't do more than 1.5 anywhere. 1.5 is for luxury 3-bedroom apartments. You'd still, you only do 1.5, but that's overall, bigger picture. But also, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that sort of the intent of the special use permit? Because you're getting a special use permit to allow multifamily residential in this commercial district. The reasons for that special use permit that you're allowing should include conditions of why we feel that our parking is enough, and I feel like that special use permit should be allowed to cover sort of the town. The reason that you're granting or would be doing this conversion is because you're basing it on this use and this type of
Well, you also
project.
have an area variance that covers the parking lot.
Right.
I mean, the special use permit covers the multi-resident, converting this commercial property to residential. And the area variance covers the parking and the height of the building.
Right. So again, the variances and that stuff is there to give relief from the standards where they don't make sense.
Or whether it's physically impossible.
Whatever restriction it is. Anybody else from the board have a question before we open?
I have a question on the phone. Now, last meeting, you stated that the project was underwritten with the 55 apartments and also the occupancy demographic of 50 to 60% area median income and your partnership with Eagle Star. I'm sorry. My question is, if the number of apartments were to be decreased and also the occupants or the occupant demographic was changed, how would that affect your funding? Would it basically kill the project?
I can,
So yes.
yes.
Okay. So it's definitely predicated on,
Number of units, the size of the units, everything is based on what they need to make the project work.
okay, that's,
The size of the units is dictated by
Yeah,
the
that's
people
what,
that'll be living in them? Their characteristics, or?
you know, it's dictated by the funding source and the housing authority, based on this type of
Design.
unit and design, based on the
So the
DHCR,
clientele-
the handbook has square footage ranges that we have to meet for these types of units, and high and low. So you can't be too big, you can't be too small.
So are you at the low end or the high end of the square footage for the criteria?
We're actually towards the higher end,
80% of the higher end, or?
like 90%.
90%?
Yeah. So basically, all our one bedrooms are towards the top range of it. One of our 2 bedrooms is actually at the top range of it. Our studios fluctuate between mid to high. We've got 1 that's on the low end, 2 that are on the lower end of it. So I would say roughly we're 90%, 90-95%, right, kind of in the middle to the high end.
I did put the square footage ranges on that letter, but we didn't put the DHCR funding ones because it's quirky. You can't really compare apples to apples because of the storage areas and things. It gets weird in the calcs, I think, so. But we know that we're 90%.
Fully accessible units get you obviously slightly increases as well and stuff like that.
We'd
in square
rather
footage.
try to explain it than put it in there and have it not make sense, but. We have one member of the public as an alternate member, Steve Gleason, who has a question. Steve?
I was going to talk as if it's a public hearing, so I don't necessarily have a question.
Okay, well, you can make a statement.
Okay.
Public hearing is open.
Okay. I'm a taxpayer in town, as all of us are, and I grew up here, so many years ago. 2 years ago, my wife and I were sideswiped by a truck running the red light on Fall Street, right where the Huntington building is. And I ended up in the hospital, blah, blah, blah. That's neither here nor there. There's a lot of red light running at that intersection. I also know the lot. I know the canal's right there. I know the bridge is right there. And I know disabled veterans. I know some disabled veterans. My father was a Marine in the Korean War. I have nothing against disabled veterans. Some I know have 2 vehicles, others have none. So the parking to me isn't even an issue. That's me personally. What is an issue is the amount, the number of those apartments in that little corner lot. There are 55 apartments, so we'll say 1 disabled veteran and 28 of them. And then I don't know who's going to be in the other one, a mother and a child, a father and a son. I don't know that. I don't think you know that yet either. I've looked at other Eagle Star places. They're nice. They're gorgeous. They're condos. They're townhomes. It's not what this is, in my mind. Maybe someone else will think it is. I don't know, but I don't. The recreation for any disabled veteran, they have to walk over the bridge to walk on the Ludovico Trail. I don't think that's going to happen. They have to walk to the rec center, get in somehow, and you know, I personally, I don't think that's going to happen. Kids play outside, kids play on grass, kids are going to be playing near the canal. I saw a person, a Domino's pizza delivery car come to the light, run it, and hit a little kid 18 years ago at the intersection right near the Nice and Easy because the kid was wandering. I personally, I don't think it's safe for children. I don't think it's safe for disabled veterans. And I don't think it's safe for the combination of the two of them. Let alone a 460-foot apartment is like a hotel room that I traveled for 28 years with a major construction company. I stayed in hotel rooms larger than that. And you know, I don't know that a mother and 2 kids or 1 kid are gonna be able to live in those apartments. To me, it's too congested, it's too small an area. It'd be great to rehab that building. Yeah, that's what everybody wants, and I agree. But I just don't think that all these apartments and all this going into this is the use for that Huntington building. That's all I have.
Okay. Are there anybody from the online that wishes to speak? Yeah, I got the volume up.
I just want to make sure that everybody talks loud enough so that it can be heard, recorded online or live stream.
Okay. So if somebody who's online would like to speak, you can speak up now. Just speak loudly, please. Is that somebody speaking, or is that
No, that's just echo.
just echo?
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something?
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I actually think that it's something that will add to our community, honestly. I mean, that building, it does have historic character. I know you're trying to add on the roof the right way. And, I mean, I think, I told you my biggest concern was when we had to take away so much of the green space, but I understand why you don't do that. But I certainly think that when you look at those renderings, that will be a beautiful building, especially since it's kind of like the entranceway to the town. So, you know, I'm definitely in favor of it. I think you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
You said there's a playground?
There is, yeah. So,
Is there like to speak to the safety of the area, is there a fence around it? Is there a way to contain children? Because then they can't get, you said there's going to still be the wooded area behind?
Yeah, still got the embankment. Yeah.
And then the embankment towards the water.
but it's fenced in with a gate, the playground area. And then there's gardens outside. You know, the home leasing over the years has had great success with creating garden areas for the residents to use.
Yeah.
You know, there's the maintenance shed out there for maintenance purposes, and then, you know, it's a beautiful view platform out back so that people can look down at the area there as well. So, I mean, I do think we're trying to incorporate amenities as well as, you know, the proximity to the rec center. And
So in that section right now, are there, I don't see it there, so maybe there isn't. There's crosswalks, but are there, no, I'm saying at the corner.
Right here.
So on the bottom picture here,
Yes.
the top picture at the very bottom, there's the sign above it
Right here.
for, there's a crosswalk, but is there the audible actual button to push to do the countdown, do all that stuff?
I don't think.
That would be something that the town would have to consider, having more people crossing in those areas. So maybe that's something to look.
State.
State, okay, so the state would have to review that one.
They'd have to.
But it's,
And there are warrants and all kinds of things that they require before they consider those things. So.
I mean, you're gonna get closer to it once you put in a bus stop and you put people there.
Yeah,
But the state doesn't spend money to put in that infrastructure if it's not.
if
gonna
it's
be
not
used.
needed, yeah.
Which is, you know, and honestly, which is another reason for this type of use, because you're gonna have the buses available to take people, and you're not gonna be putting as many people, you know, the intent will be, you'll have less intense parking needs and less intense, you know, people driving probably, at least that part of it.
So is the board comfortable making a decision on the final site plan approval before the other approvals are in place?
What other approvals for the zoning?
Well, they still got those special permit
Special use permit from the zoning board, the area
variance.
area variance for the number of parking spaces. Do we want to, would we want to leave the public hearing open and consider after the planning board decides, or the zoning board, or the planning board, sorry, after the zoning board decides how many parking spots they feel is appropriate for the variance, where they go? Because again, that's the kind of thing that would be in our purview under a site plan. Right? We'd be able to say, okay, the zoning board decided 53.5 is the right number, whatever they decide. Where do they go? That would be, and be back in our lap under final site plan approval. Or, again, are we willing to go with, I think there's a number of options there that
I mean,
sound good to me.
I think our parking will be within that footprint. It's just a matter of
Which ones?
which ones we build. If they let us not build.
So do we, does this planning board have strong opinions or a significant amount of indecision, maybe is a better way to say it, about which ones we prefer if there were less or more? So would we be comfortable making a final site plan approval based on this with a
Caveat that they come back if it's changed.
well, with a caveat I don't know, if we all agree that the parking lots, the parking spaces on the east side are the ones, the first ones should go, we could make that a condition of our approval, right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Or you could just make your approval subject to what the zoning board
Or
does,
we could
and
just,
they're dealing with the variance for parking anyway, and if
They
they have
decide which
particular
one to go.
ideas about which one should be banked, you can leave that to them.
I'm not attached to any of those reference points.
I would leave it up to the zoning board personally.
No, that's fine.
Yes.
Zoning board personally.
I always thought it was a little bit more logical with variances and whatnot, for these things to be heard for and decided upon by the zoning board of appeals before it even comes to us for a site plan. It seems more a logical step. Why should we put in effort if they're gonna turn down the variance request?
We're trying to keep the process moving.
I know, you know.
So it takes less than 3
There
years.
should be less and less variances requested if we
That goes
again,
back to
review
the,
our code.
we need to review the code and turn the code so that it's more in touch with current
You know,
desires and uses in the town. So I would, I think the sense is, the next motion would be a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion, second,
Second.
Frank, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Seeker was handled last time. We don't need to do it again for final approval.
Can I just ask a question about that? Because we increased the parking in the 55 unit count, we're not gonna, we don't need
I
to.
don't
Do we
think-
need to reaffirm seeker?
I don't think that's significant,
To
it's significant, was it 13 spaces?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a significant enough change to warrant,
I mean, I was just looking to see if we
Changing the
needed to reaffirm the seeker based on the plan revision, but if the board and everybody's comfortable, then that's fine. Yeah, I guess,
How
so,
did it jump to 55? I mean, you must have done, worked the numbers and the square footages, the first time it came in at 50.
For the parking spaces?
No,
for
the
the apartments.
number of apartments.
Oh,
Some funding dried up, or more opportunity came along, so it squeezed a couple more in, and make out better?
part of it was, we were struggling to make the financial model work, and we wanted to see if there was a way that add a few more units to the space, and we were able to come up with the additional units.
So then it was based on funding that you could make use of rather than need, in terms of putting people up.
Oh, well, for the need, we did have a market study done, and there's very strong need in the area, for demand wise for what we're proposing.
I mean, unless anybody on the board has concern with seeker, the seeker wasn't a coordinated review,
correct, it was just.
just for us,
Yes.
right? So it's not affecting the historic or any other commission, it's just us.
And to the point made as far as should it be reaffirmed or can it be reaffirmed? That certainly isn't gonna hurt anything. If you wanted to take that extra step, it would be a simple motion to reaffirm the secret finding that was made at the previous meeting.
I would be in favor of that, takes a minute, right?
Yep.
I will make a motion that we, since I wasn't here for secret last time, I'll make a motion. We confirm that the changes that have been made to add 5 additional units and 13
spaces.
12 parking spaces.
I did it wrong too.
12 parking spaces did not affect our finding of non-significance. No significant negative impacts. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the last action then, I guess at this point, would be a motion to approve.
Before that, I'd like to say that this project actually does fulfill 2 goals of the comprehensive plan. Goal 19, preservation and repurposing of historical buildings. And by creating a mixed income apartment household dwelling, it fulfills a need. Another goal that says to assure decent housing for our citizens through the creation of diverse housing opportunities and regardless of income. It also is compatible with Strategy 22.4, which allows for a variety of mixed housing types along the canal and commercial zones.
That's very well said. So I think I agree with that. It's very consistent with bringing more people into our downtown corridor area and providing a diverse community.
More inclusive.
Any other statements? Is there a motion to approve?
Make the motion to approve this final site plan.
And that comes with any conditions that the zoning board, or the planning board.
Subject to
Whatever the zoning board decides in terms of parking. So we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Yeah.
Carried.
Yeah.
Nay. Thank you.
Thank you.
right on top. Next item on the agenda tonight is the application of King By for a addition to the use variance, which has got the full a modification of the existing use variance. We will be making a recommendation to the zoning board of appeals, the zoning board of appeals to modify that use variance.
Before we go further, why don't we clarify this? Dean, what zone is this in?
It's in the C2.
It's in C2. So to make it, is this a multi-family conversion?
Right, this would be a special permit.
So this is a special use
Not a
variance.
use variance.
Not a use variance. Two different things.
The school is in a commercial zone?
I believe the commercial zone is
I
around.
thought we were still talking to Honeywell.
No, this is an R1
No,
zone.
I'm talking about,
Lost me on there.
No, hunting's over. We're not
Okay.
talking about Mr. Devine in the school.
Yeah, it's in an R1.
That's an R1 zone.
okay.
The last time we issued a special permit to operate, the bottom half is, I believe that we ended up calling the secondary school, and he was gonna be teaching and
Right, but the-
offices and stuff.
Yeah, there was offices, a gym,
Yeah.
but that,
classrooms, I think.
but that required a use variance.
No, that was,
No,
that was a special use permit. It was already approved by the zoning board, was it not?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. This was last year, I think.
Okay, so now he's asking to have multifamily residential.
In R1 zone, yes.
And,
And that would be,
you know, that's not a special use permit.
that's
That's
a use variance. He's currently asking for a use variance.
Sure, I'm just saying, Dean's got the book in his hand. Let's confirm all that before we go forward, because that's
Yeah,
pretty much.
That's confusing, but
That's-
we need to get that straight, right? So,
Yeah, Mr. Dean, what was approved last
So-
first presented?
when he first presented, it was a special use. Okay. Wait, you need the glasses. So in our minutes from the meeting on June 27th, 2019, our motion was to recommend the zoning board a land use variance. A use variance.
And then the zoning board met.
And decided it didn't need a use variance, it was a special permit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And working with the, I believe the kids are classified as post-secondary school. Underneath the special permit section.
As a post-secondary school.
And that was for his commercial enterprises and his classrooms and his gym and everything else, right? But now
Classroom and gym, you decided it was just, okay.
So now the whole thing's going to be turned into apartments? I feel like that's-
well, it looks like he wants to turn the third floor into a
Second floor.
Second floor.
Second
Wants,
floor.
wants to add a couple apartments to the mix, right?
Yeah, it's about 5 classrooms that we.
How many apartments do you want?
5
Five.
apartments. So it becomes a mixed-use building.
Yes.
There will be commercial and 5 apartments.
So now how many, like, 2-bedroom apartments, what kind of apartments?
We are going to have two bedrooms, and the other two will be 1 bedroom. That's split.
So 2 bedrooms.
And 1 bedroom, of the total of 5. But this time, that definitely can't fall under a school. So it would have to be a use variance. Anyway, doing the minutes the last time this board considered that action. We did recommend a use variance because of the unique circumstances of the building, because of consistencies with the master plan, which envision that area around the school as developing into more of a mixed-use area.
Mr. Tavori, do you know when that building was built? Or at least the oldest part of that building?
I think the oldest part was built in the 1950s. Sometimes, if I'm not wrong.
Any locals wanna, that building's older than that.
I was gonna say, it
It's
definitely
older than a lot older
1950s.
than that.
Maybe the new side was built in the
Maybe
1961.
the gym.
The new side,
The gym was added on a lot later, but
I think it was the late 40s.
late 40s.
It was there in 53,
Okay.
54. I know that because I know kids who went there, guys who went there.
Sure.
So, you know, it's up there. It's always been in good shape.
Yeah.
You know, it is in good shape, but more to build.
I have another question.
Yes.
So, I just wasn't sure. So let's say in the future, for any reason, it wouldn't be that any of the apartments would be on the first floor, right?
Sorry,
The apartments would never be on the first floor, just always on the second floor.
that's the plan.
Oh. Don't we have?
You approve a use variance for converting this to more than, multi-residential, that goes with the property, right? It doesn't matter what floor.
Well,
You can't specify the
not,
floor.
actually, yes, you can.
You can?
You certainly can, yes.
We can put, the zoning board can put restrictions
All right.
Right, right.
as part of that.
That's what I wanted to make sure.
And then those
Before we open
restrictions,
it up box,
then those restrictions, correct, run with the land, has nothing to do with who happens to own it at the
Okay.
time.
All right.
But you're right, you need to be careful what you do, because it does continue forward. But,
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
but and that can be part of your recommendation. Say, we'll recommend the approval of residential
If we're gonna
units
recommend-
on the second floor only,
Yeah.
if you think that that's appropriate.
So what other questions do we have in addition to, if we make a recommendation, we limit it to a total of 5 apartments? One bedroom and two bedrooms? We would say they,
Excuse me, the two of the classrooms would be 2 bedrooms, and the other 3 would be one bedroom each, or split.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right. So you'd have
3 one-bedrooms.
3 one-bedrooms,
And 2 two-bedrooms, right?
and 2 two-bedroom apartments.
Yes.
Now, we personally want to give you the flexibility to do something here, but at the same time, because what you want to do is in direct contradiction with those zoning laws, we need to be very careful. Otherwise, there's no point in having any zoning law. It's just, we'll get rid of the zoning laws and let everybody do what they want.
Well, I'm not sure, like I said, the reason why I brought that up is usually in towns, unfortunately, sometimes they've allowed apartments on first floors, and then I think that kind of changes the look of, like, especially like on Main Street, so that's why I brought that up. I just, feel like it kind of it could change things in the future, so to me, it just seems it should be on the second floor, and then the first floor can remain the other,
Services.
yes.
What was the original plan for the second floor?
The original plan for the second floor was actually for the whole building to make commercial building where we will lease them out for businesses. Then the demand of having apartments close to downtown came up, and we thought it would be a better idea to make it a mixed building, as we are trying to attract more professionals to the area, and they can live close to downtown and have access to the services that we provide within that building.
In the building.
In the
Like the
building,
gym,
yes. And still be within walking distance of other services downtown.
And I think that goes back to the comprehensive plan, envision that as exactly what he's talking about, more of a mixed use where there's apartments and businesses and activity, right? Not a Walmart and houses, but a community.
Right.
Now, is the zoning board gonna have to go through the 4 prongs of the,
Absolutely, that's where,
how is it not self-created?
that's their challenge. Again, we talked about that last time. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a very difficult situation to show a use variance, right?
The use was very high.
The bar is very high for a use variance.
Yeah.
Financial hardship as well.
So,
But we got through it without apartments. It was-
On the other hand, a former school building is rather unique in a residential R1 zone.
yeah, a building of that size and magnitude in an R1 zone.
Yeah, it's not a
What do you
single
do with
family
it?
house and you want to,
I don't disagree.
That's where, again, the zoning law, so the very next action, the very next motion in the minutes was a motion to recommend to the town board that they revisit zoning because we've got a property here that doesn't fit.
well, R1 does allow for elementary schools and
It does allow for
primary.
elementary schools,
right,
yes.
So,
It meant
for that use,
as an elementary school.
it's fine, but, you know, the diocese said other ideas.
Yeah.
And so now we have a large building that's not a typical single-family residential building in an R1 zone. What to do?
Are there any other specific concerns that we want to include in a recommendation to the,
Well, I know that the parking's gonna come up because you got commercial entities and you got,
how many parking spaces?
you know, 10, it'd be 10 for the apartments plus all the others that you need for your commercial entities. I don't know how big the parking.
It's a good-sized parking lot there.
I don't know how big it
Yeah.
is, so, you know, that would come up, though.
Is there a requirement for commercial entities, how many parking lots
Sure.
per store?
Yeah, it's in the
I
code.
don't know.
There are requirements. I don't know
Goes by
how,
square footage typically.
I don't know exactly how it fits with all of this, right?
Yeah.
Now we're talking about multiple things in one building, and again, our code didn't picture that.
No.
It's gonna go by building square footage, so you're gonna have to chop up the building, how many square feet are apartments? How many, I mean, if you even wanna try to apply that code, right? It's a fun little math exercise.
I think it's gonna be a recurring issue for anyone in Seneca Falls, to come up with parking for.
Like you said, there is a whole lot of parking there. You know, you get
No, no.
50 cars in there. You know.
Well, yeah, plus when the recitals were happening, we were all the way down the street.
Yeah, they used to, when the bingo was there,
Yeah.
they used to park all the way down the street. But, yeah, there's plenty of parking for what that's wanted to be used for.
Was there an elevator in the building?
Hmm?
Is there an elevator?
No, there's not.
The second floor apartments have to have.
That, it would be, second floor is okay, the third floor would require the elevator. You can't be more than one, one flight of stairs away from an exit.
So does that make
That's-
the
that's-
second
that's
floor
state
apartment
code stuff.
handicap accessible?
The what?
Does,
They won't be accessible apartments.
won't be handicap accessible apartments?
But you need a lot of apartments.
Just like every other apartment that's downtown.
I was gonna say, the whole downtown there, and that's not an uncommon situation.
Oh, when we redo the codes, we can just eliminate the ADA.
When I was a young lad living in Geneva, we were more than 2 floors from the, from
As
the
far
nearest
as
exit.
parking goes, if we label it as medical or dental clinic or office for each doctor or dentist, it's 4 parking spots. If we label it just as office general, for each 600 square feet of floor area, it's 1.
Anybody know what the total square footage the building is?
For the whole building,
Yeah,
33,000 square foot.
you got your calculator?
Well, this is on
Everybody's on it.
You got your calculator out?
I get 55.
55? Yeah,
Just the square foot with 600.
right, 55 spots. Again, I'm not sure, 50 seems about right. I'm not sure you could lay them all out in modern,
No.
same way that these guys did, but
You get at least 20, 20, 20. You can't really do it, come in and out, because they used to do that.
yeah, but again, if we lay it out according to current codes, you wouldn't get that third row in. You'd have 40, 45, maybe 50 with proper access. I know that, again, I parked there.
But when the current business that we have now, which we're moving to that location, is we never have more than 10, 15 people in the building at a time. So having 55 people there,
55 cars would be a great stroke of business, wouldn't it?
it's going to be, less than the rent.
So we talked ourselves out of a concern for parking?
Yeah.
Any other concerns, questions? So I would make a motion that this board recommends a use variance for the property to allow up to 5 apartments on the second floor. Assuming the applicant can demonstrate the
Ownership?
Four elements of hardship.
the 4 areas of hardship. We'll just leave it at that, right? I'm gonna start reading this, but that's too long.
So wait, do you need to add to that motion that we wouldn't accept apartments on the first floor, or no, or is that kind of explicit in there?
I said up to 5 apartments on the second floor.
Okay, so,
No apartments on the first floor.
That's what that means to me.
Okay, we'll make it explicit. I'll take that as a friendly amendment and say 5 apartments on the second floor, no apartments on the second floor.
Just my own understanding,
Yep,
if we have 2 of the classrooms, the 2-bedroom apartments, and the other 3, we split it into, say, we take one of the classrooms and they're all the same size. We split it into 1 bedroom, 1 bedroom, 1 bedroom, 1 bedroom, 1 bedroom, 1 bedroom. still mean the same thing. But-
How many total apartments do you have?
Well, right now we have 5 classrooms, they're all the same size. So 2 of them, we're going to make them 2 bedrooms each. And the other one, we are going to split it into, so maybe 2 single people can have separate rooms in one classroom. I just want to make sure we have the same understanding.
How many classrooms are on the second floor?
5.
5.
Oh, it's 5 total
Yeah,
classrooms?
5 classrooms.
Okay.
And how many apartments do you want to put in?
But I'm going to use all 5 for apartments. So,
But how many
I
apartments?
know you want to use all the classroom space up there for apartments.
yes.
How many apartments do you plan on putting in there?
Okay, so we are 3 of them are going to be used for 1 bedroom. So we're looking at about 6 there.
Each one of those would become 2 apartments.
Yeah, each one would split into 2 separate apartments.
So that's 6 apartments.
6 1-bedroom, right?
6 one-bedroom
Yes.
apartments,
Ooh.
plus 2, so that's 8 apartments.
2 bedroom.
2 bedrooms.
6 1-bedroom, so that's 8 apartments total.
Correct. With that layout.
Sixteen apartments now. How many kitchens? You're putting in?
I would recommend that this board just make the recommendation to limit the residential to the second floor and be done with it. So are they gonna have communal bathrooms up there? Water fountains?
The answer is no.
All that.
I mean,
That's what they're gonna do with the other buildings.
I'd be more comfortable personally if we could put some kind of limit on the number of units.
Number of units.
And I guess I'm okay at 8 as a maximum number, say on that floor, right?
Yeah, no more than 8, so you could go up to 8 or you could go down.
I agree.
That gives them some flexibility.
Right, I guess there's some flexibility to do it, but we don't end up with,
25 of them up there, yeah.
right.
But now all of this is based on some kind of square footage that's documented somewhere, right? I mean, zoning.
What is based on?
I mean, how many apartments can be there? Like, don't they have to be a certain?
This is
No.
based on what you guys feel
And
is appropriate.
I see, she's asking how many square feet is designated as an apartment per New York State code.
Yeah, don't we have a code that we're supposed to be following?
The international codes that the county code enforcement does, they calculate it by 1 room is this square footage, you can only have 2 people in this room. You know, this room's only this size, you can only have 1 bed in this room, type thing.
Right.
They do all that calculation.
So that's the building code. That's not our town zoning code.
When he pulls his permits, he's gonna
He's gonna have to come up with a layout that meets the building code.
So even if we said 8 apartments, it might change because there might not be enough.
If he can't fit 8 apartments in and meet the code,
It won't go.
Okay,
it won't go.
okay. That's-
He can't meet that code. That's that code, right? So it's the building code.
Okay,
All we're looking at it is from a macro view of what effect is it gonna have on the neighborhood, on the community.
okay.
Right? This is planning. And again, I don't know what the maximum number really is, where the number of apartments in that building would have an effect on the community, but I don't feel I feel it's higher than 8. And again, I just, our zoning doesn't address this at all. It says you can't have any apartments in this neighborhood. That's why he needs the use variance. So As amended, then, the motion is to recommend to the zoning board of appeals the use variance contingent on a maximum of 8 apartments on the second floor and no apartments on the first floor.
Second.
You have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Carried. So you have a recommendation from the planning board to take to the zoning board to get special use variance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning.
Yeah, there's no secret on that. It's just a recommendation. What else have we forgot to do? We're done? I have a motion to adjourn.
Made.
Second, all in favor?
Did you want to make a recommendation to the planning or the town board to relook the zone?
Well, we're gonna read this one.
Again?
Again?
Just do that annually?
Since you made that, the board has changed.
Do we want to do that before we adjourn? I'd be willing to.
Yes.
Time, rewind. We'll make one last motion. I would make a motion that the town board consider rezoning of the properties with issues similar to St. Patrick's. What was I talking about back here? Gotta get my glasses. Essentially, the town board consider reopening our comprehensive plan and developing an update to the town zoning codes to bring them into alignment with current needs and development patterns in the town.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a recommendation to the board as well. There's been a few applications here in a row that involve parking and the numbers of parking spaces required by our code. I know some board members are interested in addressing that and amending that, and that ends up with any recommendation gets reviewed by the planning board. So my suggestion is take a look at our code in relation to parking and get an idea about what it says and what you think it ought to be. I don't know how quickly the town board would want to act, but certainly they are, I would suspect, open to suggestion, and changes to the zoning code come through the planning board anyway, so it can certainly start here as well.
Okay. I would encourage that. I recently read a report on parking in downtown.
This, our downtown?
Yes.
Yes,
Is it bottom of
there is none.
What?
There is none.
The parking report concluded that there is more parking within our downtown than there is in our Walmart. The average distance for parking
Where
in
were they
downtown
measuring?
is less than walking from the middle of the parking lot in Walmart to the middle of. We have, again, the report, which was prepared by professionals, essentially concludes that there is
I
four.
dare them to not get a ticket.
With,
There's more what?
No, we're talking about parking still.
so what they did is they drew a circle
Oh, Lord.
around a downtown business zone, essentially. That circle is the size of it. They calculated it based on average travel or something, what people are willing to walk, right? And they made the point in the report that that distance, which seems like a lot to us because we want to park right about there, right? was about the same distance as the middle of a Walmart parking lot to the middle of a Walmart store. That length of distance, I can't remember what the exact number is. So they drew a circle around our downtown, and they counted the total number of parking spots in that circle.
Do they include people's driveways?
No, they included on-street parking, they included the municipal lots, they didn't include the bank, which is in that circle, which I park at, especially when it's closed.
Yeah, but we moved the front entrance of Walmart to the center of the store and increased the distance before you get inside. And park there. Once you get in there.
So, anyway, I guess, I can't remember where I read it, but it was developed, the chairman of our zoning board of appeals was one of the members on the steering committee. I do remember that from reading the report. I can't remember where I found it, but.
That's so intriguing.
I'll try and find where I read it.
Study being done, I just don't remember
Sure.
what the results were.
But again, it made it clear that there's a perception, which you guys all related, right? In Seneca Falls, we don't have parking. But if you look at the numbers tell a different story. It's not parking in front of Robinette Jeweler when you want to get into Robinette Jeweler, but there's a spot within reasonable walking distance.
I just park at home.
Me too, just walk to town.
It's not within anybody's understanding of a reasonable distance to walk.
Yeah, so again, part of it's about perceptions, right? What
yeah.
people are used to or want to,
Look,
right?
I more or less refer to overnight parking and the winter time that there is very little to any
So they talked about
overnight.
the fact that the parking spaces, the physical spaces are there, but there are impediments to having them utilized. So you
That
need
makes
to do
sense.
more
That
thinking
makes-
about, right?
That makes more sense.
The bank, which you're not supposed to park in, that everybody parks in. Can we do some kind of town-wide parking district, or whatever you want to phrase it, so that those spots that are built and dumping stormwater into our stormwater sewers, when the bank is closed, can be used when the bank is closed?
Yeah.
Can we utilize the space that we have? Is the challenge, right? So there is a challenge. It's not, oh, there's plenty of parking, it's no problem. But the challenge isn't physical space. The challenge is getting it utilized.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Advertised, utilized, making it so that you can put 6 apartments in that vacant space above the storefronts,
Yeah.
so that the storefronts can become viable
Yeah,
downtown.
that makes more sense. Now that you put it that way. Yeah, I'm sure.
Parking lots,
Oh, yeah.
library.
Okay, so my motion
The
is
library
standing. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor?
Seconded?
Aye.
Second time?
You're all
Okay.
This time